Disclaimer: this journal documents my personal business journey and creative process. It is shared for storytelling purposes only and should not be taken as financial, legal, or tax advice. Please consult licensed professionals before making business or investment decisions. From Desire to System, Part 2, a XiaoWellness Media production. From Desire to System is a reflection of transformation, how silent struggle evolved into structure through movement, journaling, and learning to approach trading as a calm, repeatable process. Part 1 built the foundation. This next chapter continues the story where structure becomes rhythm and rhythm becomes edge. This is Part 2, Refining the Edge. Written, produced, and narrated by XiaoWellness Media. Chapter 1, Morning as Preparation. Long before numbers appear on the screen, I tune into my own rhythm. A few stretches, quiet movements, a moment to feel the day arrive. It's my way of clearing tension before numbers take the stage. At XiaoWellness channel, these mornings are often filmed, not as tutorials, but as reflections in motion. Each session follows what my body asks for that day. Some mornings call for yoga, breath meeting gentle flow. Other days invite strength, grounding through control and focus. What you see on screen isn't just a workout for others. It's me listening, adjusting, honoring my own needs in real time. That practice prepares me for everything that follows. The market can wait until I'm centered enough to meet it. In that stillness, I return to something simple, awareness itself. Meditation for me isn't complicated. If you've never tried it, start by noticing the breath moving through your nose. Follow the inhale, follow the exhale. Feel the belly rise and fall. If the mind drifts, just guide it back again and again to this present moment. Each return is a small act of strength. With time, it becomes easier, softer, more natural. That rhythm, breath in, breath out, heartbeat steady, becomes a quiet tone of my trading day. Discipline, I've learned, begins long before the market opens. When the body feels anchored and the mind unhurried, clarity follows on its own. By the time I sit down, the charts feel quieter. I open my tools, the brokerage window, my position tracker, the instruments that anchor my work. The first task is always the same: manage risk. I check exposure, review open trades, and secure profits where they meet plan. Only after protection comes reward. Only then do I decide whether to enter something new. Some days that means one clean setup, other days two, and sometimes none at all. Building a morning ritual has become half my success. Movement and meditation set the stage, the tone that carries through every decision that follows. When body and mind begin in rhythm, the rest of the day moves with balance. This ritual isn't about performance, it's about presence, aligning physical calm with mental clarity. Each morning practice becomes an invisible foundation beneath every trade that follows. Closing, refine the edge. Every breath, every stretch, every pause becomes part of the system itself. The edge I build doesn't begin with data or profit. It begins here in how I prepare to meet the day. When movement grounds the body and stillness clears the mind, trading becomes an extension of that harmony. This is how I refine the edge, not by chasing advantage, but by cultivating awareness. Because the truest precision is presence, and the strongest position is peace. Chapter 2, Refining the Edge, Patience and Protection. The office space is set. My workspace finally feels defined, quiet, organized, real. The business checking account is open, and funding it for the first time felt unreal. For months, it lived only on paper. Now it's tangible. The business is official, no longer an idea, but something alive. The brokerage account, though, is still in waiting. A few forms needed correction. Initials here and there, then another upload. I sent everything back, double-checked each line, and waited again. Long enough to test my patience, but not my faith. There's still no update on the first business credit card I applied for. So I decided to move forward with a different company. If I haven't heard back by now, it's probably sitting in manual underwriting. The slow lane of progress. Still, another card is already approved and on its way. Each small step feels like forward motion, even if it's quiet. Building patience has become its own practice, almost like meditation. I have to remind myself that impatience carries a cost. It wastes energy, time, and focus, the very things that build consistency. Practicing patience, on the other hand, feels like staying aware of the breath, one inhale, one exhale at a time. It's not about forcing calm. It's about noticing when restlessness appears and guiding it back to center. Each moment of waiting becomes an exercise in stillness, a way to strengthen the mind that trades as much as the one that breathes. Waiting taught me to slow down long enough to see patterns I used to miss. With the paperwork still in motion and the account not yet active, I found myself watching the market more closely, not to trade, but to understand its rhythm. That's when I began to notice something deeper, the way momentum rise and fall like the tide, revealing both opportunity and risk in the same wave. I discovered my edge by observing the market's rhythm. It moved like the sea, quiet, steady, then suddenly wild. Each swell rose, peaked, and fell back into still water. No matter how carefully I watched, I could never predict the next wave. That realization changed everything. I didn't need to forecast the motion. I only needed to prepare for it. While studying different instruments, I came across inverse ETFs. At first, they were just another ticker symbol on the screen. But as I learned more, I began to see them differently. In my own practice account, they became a form of insurance, a small safeguard during times of volatility. They don't remove risk, nothing does, but they give me balance, a quiet counterweight when momentum turns fast. Using them isn't about predicting decline, it's about maintaining stability when the current shifts. Holding that hedge felt like sailing with awareness of the wind. When the sea changes, I adjust my sails instead of fighting the storm. That adjustment, measured, intentional, is how I protect the structure I've built. It isn't fear that drives the hedge, it's foresight. It's knowing that preservation is part of growth, and staying in the market requires protection as much as participation. Now, whenever volatility begins to rise, I may add that insurance layer not as reaction, but as rhythm, a steady part of how the system breathes. Because in trading, like in the ocean, success isn't about knowing every wave. It's about staying afloat with calm conviction until the tide turns again. The other half of my success comes from how I use my journal. It's where I refine the system, each trade recorded, each lesson preserved. Every position begins with structure and is logged through a clear set of rules. Every box must be checked before I enter. As the system evolves, I add new guidelines and adjust old ones, but the process always stays clear. Between the journal and the rules, I find trust. Because emotion can be convincing, it can whisper urgency when patience is what's needed. The log keeps me honest. It reminds me that discipline is stronger than impulse, and structure is the path back whenever emotion tries to lead. Some trades will test that boundary, but as long as I stay within the framework, the system, the checklist, the record, I know I'm aligned with my core income method. That's what the journal gives me: clarity, accountability, and a mirror that reflects both my progress and my discipline. It's what keeps me steady and what keeps the business sustainable. Chapter 3. The market is a teacher that speaks in contrasts. Every win carries its shadow. Every setback holds a truth you can't find in success alone. This month reminded me that refinement isn't about adding complexity. It's about knowing what to release. The rhythm at first felt steady. Plans aligned, executions flowed, results followed. It was smooth, a sense of quiet control. Then came a single trade that tested everything I'd built. The loss wasn't catastrophic, but was enough to shift perspective. About $500, nearly erasing the $800 I had gained this month. In numbers, it looked small. In meaning, it felt large, because it showed how one decision made outside the system can undo weeks of patient work. That experience was my reminder. Discipline doesn't end when things are going well. In fact, that's when it's most at risk. Success can whisper louder than caution. It can make emotion sound like logic. The mistake wasn't in taking a chance. It was in stepping away from the structure that keeps me grounded. The trade didn't fit my rhythm. It wasn't built from rules. It was built from curiosity. And that small deviation carried a clear cost. Learning what not to do has become one of the most important lessons in my evolution. Each misstep has shape and purpose. It points to the gap in awareness that numbers alone can't reveal. The loss, though frustrating, carved clarity into my process. It forced me to separate impulse from intention, to rebuild my trust in patience. Even protection evolved this month. I learned that hedging without alignment is just another distraction. True defense isn't reaction, it's anticipation. Risk management means staying calm through uncertainty, not chasing control when volatility rises. My journal became the bridge back to balance. Every entry told the truth, not just about results, but about decisions, emotions, and energy. Writing allowed me to see patterns forming before they repeated. The page became a mirror, one that reflects both progress and the places I drift. Through that lens, I rediscovered the value of honesty. Numbers tell part of the story. Reflection tells the rest. Progress isn't about flawless execution. It's about awareness, seeing when motion takes the wheel, and having the humility to hand control back to the system. What matters most isn't that I lost money. It's that I learned exactly why it happened and how to make sure it doesn't repeat. Refinement begins in moments like this, when success softens and reality sharpens. Because mastery doesn't come from avoiding mistakes. It comes from understanding them deeply enough to never make them the same way twice. Boredom speaks softly. It sounds like curiosity, convincing you that progress means doing more. That's what happened to me. I grew restless, repeating what worked, and somewhere between routine and reflection, I drifted. Without noticing, I stepped outside my own framework. A quiet break from structure that felt harmless at first. It wasn't. The trade didn't fit the system. It came from curiosity and overconfidence. The urge to layer something new onto what was already effective. That small experiment became a costly reminder. The loss wasn't large in numbers, but it carried weight in meaning. It showed how quickly success can create blind spots, how comfort turns into risk when you stop respecting the process. It wasn't the market that tested me. It was my need to improve what didn't need fixing. Overconfidence disguised as growth, curiosity mistaken for evolution. The real lesson was simple. Discipline isn't just following rules when things are hard. It's staying loyal to them when everything feels easy. Self-management is the truest form of mastery. If I can't control curiosity, I can't protect progress. Every deviation has a price, sometimes measured in dollars, sometimes in awareness. Now, when the screen is quiet, I remind myself, consistency is not limitation, it's protection. Doing the same thing well is not stagnation, it's refinement. I step away when that urge to add more appears. Stretch, breathe, write. Let the system breathe too. If boredom tempts me to act, reflection reminds me to wait. This experience taught me that control isn't about holding tighter. It's about knowing when not to touch what's already working. Growth doesn't come from constant change. It comes from quiet confidence in repetition. Because sometimes the hardest part of progress is resisting the need to make progress. Chapter 4, The Discipline of Ease. Some lessons arrive quietly, not through loss or failure, but moments of right timing and calm execution. Today carried one of those lessons. The trade was performing well, yet I sensed a shift in volatility. That faint tension the market reveals before it moves. Rather than wait for pressure to build, I made the adjustment early. I rolled the position down and forward, collected a modest credit, lowered the strike, extended duration, and gave the setup room to breathe. It wasn't bold or dramatic. It was intentional, a move grounded in patience instead of urgency. There's quiet satisfaction in choices like this. They don't create excitement, but they strengthen consistency. I didn't wait for risk to escalate. I acted from steadiness, not stress. That distinction matters. It separates management from reaction, discipline from emotion. The benefit wasn't only the additional premium. It was confirmation that composure now guides my decisions. Each proactive step safeguards not just capital, but confidence. Every timely adjustment reinforced control, allowing me to navigate uncertainty with precision. This moment reaffirmed what experience keeps teaching. Refinement grows from small, deliberate improvements. Prediction isn't required. Respect for rhythm is. Mastery is built by listening to movement and staying aligned with intention. Rolling from strength isn't cleverness, it's steadiness in motion. I didn't act out of fear, I moved from clarity. Those quiet, measured choices are what compound into expertise over time. The market rewards composure. Ease isn't laziness, it's precision performed without tension. When I open a position, I build in space to breathe. That cushion allows me to remain through uncertainty and let planning, not pressure, shape the outcome. I rarely roll. When I do, it comes from foresight, a calculated adjustment made to fortify structure and maintain control. This recent move improved my cost basis, added time, and reshaped the trade into a stronger posture. Even if assignment comes later, I'm content owning at the new level because the figures reflect intention rather than impulse. From there, the next phase is clear. Transition into ownership, sell the covered call, and continue the rhythm of income, one thoughtful layer at a time. That's the discipline of ease, creating space to think, time to plan, and room to act with composed certainty. Every adjustment carries preparation. Each step leaves margin for patience. I don't need to foresee the next few weeks. I only need to stay attuned to process, handle risk with grace, and let the framework breathe. The goal isn't to outpace the market. It's to remain calmer than emotion. That poise, that steady confidence in design and rhythm is where ease transforms into discipline. Chapter 5. The business launch. Reaching this stage has been a long, deliberate journey. What began as a question, could I trade this account as a business, gradually evolved into a framework, then a system, and finally something tangible. From the earliest notes in my journal to the last document signed, every phase has tested patience, persistence, and faith in the process. There were setbacks, small glitches, and days that stretched further than expected. Yet each challenge carried its own lesson, shaping the mindset that now holds this foundation together. Now the LLC stands complete. The brokerage account is active, connected, and ready for operation. It took endurance to reach this moment, but no time was wasted. Every delay became part of the design. Each signature, each waiting period served as a quiet reminder that building something genuine happens gradually, earned one decision at a time. Looking back across these 4 months, July through October, I can see how much transformation occurred between trades. This phase wasn't only about developing a method, it was about testing discipline, focus, and belief. The metrics matter, but not as proof of success. They matter as evidence of consistency. The system has been shaped, practiced, and refined until it feels intuitive. It functions not because it's flawless, but because I've learned to move with it, to let awareness and composure lead instead of impulse. If there's one truth this process revealed, it's that sustained attention eventually takes shape. What begins as intention becomes visible the moment commitment replaces hesitation. This business existed first as an idea, and now it stands because I believed in it long enough to give it form. That is the quiet essence of creation. It isn't magic. It's steady focus, transformed into form. Effort shaped through repetition, energy refined into order. So here I am, 4 months into the journey, prepared to trade under the name I built from the ground up. The structure is complete, the framework tested, and the system ready to operate as a living business. Part 2 closes here, not as an ending, but as a threshold. The next chapter is about movement, trading through the LLC, operating as a business, and allowing the process to evolve in real time. For anyone reading or listening, remember this. What you believe to be possible begins to take form the moment you direct energy toward it, because belief supported by structure turns possibility into reality. Stay tuned for Part 3, Running the System. Preparation is complete. Now the work continues. One trade, one reflection, one deliberate step at a time. Disclaimer. This journal documents my personal business journey and creative process. Everything I share through XiaoWellness comes from my personal journey, professional training, and lived experience. It is for informational and inspirational purposes only.